So I unironically mean this. This might be the most messed up thing I've seen in Delicious in Dungeon today. And I already know what people are going to say, but what about the sister? What about the Maiden Abyss visual monstrosities that we've dealt with? And yes, on a visual level, there's worse things. But what they casually revealed under the guise of like a very peaceful, nice looking location, the fact that it's already messed up when you realize that this is a cursed village that is so... The only reason they're not completely insane is because they give themselves mundane tasks that don't benefit them. Milking the minotaurs, as messed up as that sounds. Tending to fields of food they're never going to be able to eat. All of this stuff is completely pointless, but it's the only purpose they have. And the people, the family, the friends who have tried to leave and never come back, what ends up happening to them is they turn into monstrosities, ghouls, ghosts. And that's already pretty like a heavy thing to reveal in such a comfy way, but it's the fact that we actually ate their family and friends. We turned them into sorbet. And the fact that they all had that realization of, oh god, what have we done, is unironically one of the most messed up things Delicious in Dungeon has casually shown us. I was not ready because this was a pretty comfy episode. This was a pretty chill episode. And then the Isekai Truck-kun comes in trying to end our lives, man. That was wild. Full live reactions over on Patreon if you want to see my full and good thought to this or any of these Delicious in Dungeon episodes. It's going to be over there exclusively. So, wow. I thought we were getting a Kabru focus episode, but we got like 6 minutes, give or take, before we switched back to our main crew. And honestly, Kabru's stuff was pretty interesting. So, what I've said pretty much from the beginning of this character in general is I kind of understand where he's coming from, and some of what he says makes sense, but I wouldn't trust either one of either Laios or Kabru would control the dungeon. But his fear of Laios makes total sense. I mean, at the end of the day, it's true. This man cares about monsters more than anything. And could he make some sort of oasis similar to like the Dream Paradise, just without the curse and just monsters and humans coexisting? Sure, that's a potential. But also, there's certain people in this world who should have no influence over the world, and I think both of them are that. For Laios, it's because he cares too much about monsters more than anything, and I just don't think he's a rational person. I think he's kind of crazy. And then when it comes to Kabru, if he thinks it's justice, he'll do whatever it takes to commit to that justice, and that's kind of frightening to give someone power. Neither one of them should have it. I'd trust Chilchuck before any of them, and I don't even trust Chilchuck to have it, but goddamn, at least Chilchuck wouldn't be, becoming a slave to monsters or just casually killing people because of justice, but I digress. The backstory, though, and kind of like what happened to him when he was a kid, definitely adds fuel to his kind of like asshole-ish nature, but in general, I kind of like the intro just for like kind of making you think you're getting all of that and then just casually going back to what you expect with Delicious in Dungeon. And honestly, the food they were making was good, but the thing that I really like about this author is that during the show, I didn't really suspect anything. But once they show you that flashback, you're like, oh, wait a second. That was before our eyes this whole time. Laios has been casually thinking he's going crazy for many episodes, basically under the thought that it was mana sickness. Imagine just hearing things and slowly seeing a face and a voice kind of like come to fruition, and you're like, oh, it's probably just the mana sickness. This man, honestly, I can't tell if he's the strongest or craziest character in the show. Maybe a bit of both. Maybe a little column A, a little column B, because how in God's name did this man keep his sanity? And maybe he went crazy long ago and that's how, but Jesus, man. But it makes sense, like, why would, when the walls were closing in on them, why would they, like, pull them free and then do nothing really with it? And then we get our answer finally in this episode, which is, we're trying to go talk to the master of this kind of cursed village with the barriers upon barriers. We see what happens with monsters. It kind of tames them. Our new cat friend is it kind of felt like she was on catnip this episode is the best way to put it. She was coming down from the high of catnip, and it was kind of cute seeing Marcel give little chin scratches and the like. But it's interesting because we know before the show kind of started, and we learned afterwards that basically there was this crazy old man who popped up, said, if you defeat this, you become the lord of the dungeon, and then disappeared. Turns out it's this guy's granddad. And honestly, man, this village just depresses me. Like, at face value, it's so peaceful, but the idea that, like, you don't think much of it when initially the three girls come in to dress up Marcel, but it's like, the fact that they're just so bored of doing it to themselves that anyone is just more interesting, but it's like, they're not good cooks because they don't eat food, they don't do anything. It's literally just something to keep your sanity because, like, what do? Do you leave the barrier and become a monster and wander the dungeons forever as something that's not you, or do you hold on to the little bit of humanity you have, as they're basically saying, please for the love of God, Laios, defeat the magician and become the ruler? And it's like, maybe things could work out if he did. It's possible, but I don't know, man. The thing is, though, is I've loved making the joke that Senshi is the true love interest in this show, but it's funny that the longer the show goes on, the less of a joke it becomes and more of reality. You can't with a straight face tell me that Senshi was sitting there with his shirt off, looking all sensual towards Laios in his bed, and only his bed. The fact that the joke becomes canon the longer it goes on is killing me, but that's the OTP. No one can convince me otherwise at this point. But I think the thing that I've come to really appreciate the most about Delicious in Dungeon is the fact that you can really see why this show didn't need to be more than like 48 to 50 episodes. Because for those who don't know, once this season wraps up with episode 24, we will be at the halfway mark of the manga. The manga is completed. The manga made something that wasn't overly long, but just short, sweet, and to the point. And I think a lot of anime could benefit from having something that only needs like 50 episodes worth of content. Because the thing is most anime that get adapted, if they were to get a full adaptation even rushed, would have a dozen single core seasons, like 100, 130 episodes. And honestly, most shows don't need to be that long. There's a lot of things that can benefit from even 10 episode runs. But I think 4 cores is a sweet spot that should be seen more, but obviously anime production is very expensive, so there's not already a dedicated fan base. A lot of production committees aren't going to fund it. But this is an author that clearly went for something that had a beginning, middle, and end. And while you could definitely tell a lot of stories in this universe, different characters, whether we've seen them already in this show or brand new characters, Delicious in Dungeon has a world that could have multiple stories. But the core story and cast doesn't, from my understanding right now, need more than 4 cores worth of anime. It's very clear that the goal was to save the sister, and now it's the goal to get to the bottom, defeat the magician, and whatever happens with the sister is going to happen. And maybe afterwards, if they do get the power, there's a little bit more with that. But I can actually appreciate, because it would be very easy to extend this show for prolonged periods of time, because you can just keep creating more and more weird dishes, more monsters, more little gimmicks, but instead I can respect something that said, hey, we're just trying to make a good story with good characters and not trying to make it too bloated. And honestly, you don't see that a lot with these shows, and I really, really hope that, because I know we're going to get a full adaptation, I just hope the quality that we saw in this season can carry into it, because from what I'm hearing, the second season would be even better than what we're experiencing, and given how the show has progressively gotten better, I can totally believe it. But, I mean, at the end of the day, the main takeaway, Senshi is without a doubt Laios' true OTP, and that might be one of the most casually messed up things this show has revealed, that not only is this just such a tortured village, it's the fact that we turned their goddamn family and friends into sorbet. There's something special about this show. But that's all for me. Let me know what you thought down below. Be sure to leave a like if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new around here. Of course, ring that bell so you know if I want to upload more. And like I mentioned, we got those full live reactions over on Patreon. And hey, while you're over there, I'll also give you a video shout out. So today we have Destiny Richards, Missing No Leader, Jade, Crystal Plays, K-Talk, and we also have Brett Itzka. So I appreciate the support, everyone. Please take care. Have a good one.